everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how you can regrow all the common vegetable scraps that you might have. Here's what I've been regrowing. A lot of green onions. And also bok choy. Look how cute it is. Green onions have by far been the most easiest thing to regrow, and as you can see here, they got some wicked roots. And water is dripping all over my couch. I'm also super happy that I got to get a few more leaves on this little bok choy, and there's actually a couple roots growing on the bottom, so I might actually be able to plant it. I've tried regrowing bok choy before and they've never actually grown roots. They just kind of produced a couple leaves before it started to die off, so maybe I'll give it a try. A few of the green onions I do have are kind of starting to limp over a little bit, even though I've been changing out the water and making sure they get a lot of sunlight. But what I'm thinking is happening is some of the roots are starting to become a little translucent, and I'm wondering if that's just because they've been in water for so long, maybe they're starting to rot a little bit. So I might actually have to replant these into some soil, but the only thing is the weather's still kind of crappy outside, and I don't exactly have a spot in our house to put them where the animals can't get them, because green onions, something your pet should not eat. Definitely gonna have to rethink my game plan. So enough about what I've been growing, let's get into the different vegetable scraps that you can regrow. For the best results, anything with roots or a bulb should be your first choice. This includes anything like green onions, leeks, herbs, and garlic. I say herbs with an asterisk because I know at the grocery store, a lot of the herbs don't come with the roots on them, like they come chopped off, because obviously that's not the part you eat. So if you do see any herbs that have the roots still attached to them, make sure you grab them. There's also been a few times where I've had success in other vegetables at the grocery store having roots, such as lettuce or spinach, and I was able to regrow them and get a few more leaves out of them. So always keep your eyes peeled for roots at the grocery store. Also, if you already have some established herb plants, you can take a couple cuttings from those and propagate them into new plants. I may or may not have a video on that coming soon, so make sure you're subscribed so you can know when that happens. For vegetables like leeks or green onions, you'll want to make sure that you have at least 1 inch of scrap left over. Place your scraps into a jar and fill it up with water just enough so that the roots are covered. Place the jar in a spot that gets a lot of sunlight, and after a few weeks, when the roots have grown a little bit, you can plant them outside in your garden. Weather pending, of course. To regrow garlic, you'll have the best luck with bigger cloves. Place your cloves flat side down into a small amount of water and make sure they're standing upright. I know it's hard to see here, but there is a little bit of water in this cup, I promise. After a week, you'll notice that the roots and the scape have grown quite a bit. Mine started looking like some weird alien. You don't need to remove the skin, but as you can see here, once the scape starts growing, it'll eventually just push off the skin. That sounds really weird. If you're planning on growing garlic in a container, you're gonna need something that's 12 inches wide by 18 inches deep, because garlic has roots that need a lot of room to spread. Garlic is more commonly grown in the ground, so you'll just need to wait until you have a little bit of scape and a little bit of roots developed before planting them 1 to 2 inches deep in the soil. And just a disclaimer, garlic can take a really long time to grow, so don't expect to see a full head of garlic within a couple weeks. Most people typically plant garlic in the fall because it takes up to 9 months to grow a full head. For root vegetables like beets, carrots, and turnips, you'll want to have about ½ inch of scrap left over. Place your scrap into some shallow water with the leaf end up. Place in a sunny spot, and within a week you'll start noticing these little green leaves sprouting at the top of your scrap. You won't be able to regrow the root itself, but you will get all these little leafy greens that taste great in salads. For leafy vegetables like lettuce, bok choy, and celery, you'll just need to cut off the base, also known as the part you don't eat. Make sure you have at least 1 inch of scrap left over and place the base into a jar or saucer with ½ inch of water. Then place the jar in a sunny spot and watch those leaves grow. Now, what about those vegetables you keep in your pantry and often end up forgetting about? I'm talking about potatoes and onions. I've definitely left a few potatoes in the pantry, and when I found them a few weeks or even months later, they have all kinds of weird sprouts on them. I currently don't have any potatoes or onions on me to demonstrate, but hopefully you can still follow along with this part. Smaller potatoes are totally cool to plant as a whole, but if you have a larger potato, say one that's maybe like this big, you're gonna wanna cut it into quarters. Just make sure that each quarter includes an eye, otherwise nothing's gonna happen. To regrow potatoes, you're gonna need a big container. What you'll wanna do is put a little bit of soil in your container, then place the potatoes with the sprout sides facing up, and then fill the rest of the container with soil. Place your container in a sunny spot, water regularly, and eventually you'll have a bunch of potatoes growing underground. For onions, you'll want to keep 1 inch of scrap with the old roots. Place the onion root side down into a saucer or a jar that has a little bit of water just so that the roots are covered. You don't want to submerge the entire thing. Place it in a sunny spot, and after a couple weeks, you'll notice that the shoots have grown quite a bit and you got a bunch of new roots on the bottom. Then you can transplant it outside. Fruit is one of the more difficult things to regrow. I'm sure you've all seen those viral videos where somebody plants a lemon seed or an avocado pit and then it magically turns into this giant tree that has so much fruit on it. But unfortunately, that's not the reality. Realistically, if you're planning to grow a fruit tree, it's gonna take several years until you actually get any fruit, if you're lucky. Unless you live in a tropical region, most of us don't have the proper growing conditions within our homes to grow these types of fruits. Environment and pollination plays a huge role in whether or not your fruit is gonna be able to grow fruit. Environment and pollination plays a huge role in whether or not your tree is going to be able to grow fruit. But if you still want to have a cute little plant growing around your house, here's what you can do with citrus seeds and avocado pits. For citrus seeds, you're going to want to find a nice big whole seed. Then dampen a paper towel or a piece of cloth for a zero waste alternative. Place the seed inside the cloth and put it in a small sealable container. Basically, you're just going to want something that keeps the moisture in. Check on your seed every couple days, add some more water if you need to, and once it's sprouted little roots, you can plant it into a pot. A few years ago, I germinated a massive grapefruit seed, and I'll insert some pictures here so you can see what the thing looked like. Again, kind of looked like an alien. I think it's been 2 or 3 years since I planted it. It did used to look like this, but then somebody forgot to take care of it while I was away on vacation. But I'm at least glad it's grown back a couple of leaves and there's a few baby ones here at the top, so hopefully it'll return back to normal. For avocado pits, I've never actually grown one before, so this is my first time, and I did do a lot of research before this video, so hopefully everything is correct. First, you're going to want to clean your avocado pit thoroughly, gently scraping off the thin brown skin on the outside. Then stick 3 to 4 toothpicks into the pit about 1/3 of the way down from the pointy part. Rest the avocado pit in a glass of water so that only the bottom half is submerged. And I'm now realizing that I should have put my toothpicks in at more of an angle so that the pit actually reaches the water. I'm also realizing that I might have put the toothpicks in the wrong way. I think I did the pit horizontally rather than vertically, so the pointed end is here rather than up here. But I went back a week later and corrected it, and this is what it looks like now. Even with me doing it the wrong way the first time, the avocado still actually managed to split open, and as you can see here, the root is starting to grow on the inside. I just made sure to switch it the proper way because obviously I want the root to grow down and not at some weird angle because I have a feeling that would probably affect the actual plant itself. So this is what it should look like. Once the pit has roots and a sprout, you can move it into a container, making sure that the pit is covered halfway with soil. And there you have it, several ways you can regrow vegetable scraps. One final note for everything that I mentioned today is that it's important to change out the water every couple days so that everything stays fresh. It also helps if you gently wash the roots so that you can get rid of any buildup to make sure that everything is thriving. What sort of things have you successfully regrown, or what things do you want to try to regrow? Feel free to let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe, I'll see you later. Bye!